I knowed my name to be Magwitch, christened Abel. How did I know it? Much as I knowed the birds' names in the hedges to be chaffinch, sparrow, thrush. I might have thought it was all lies together, only, as the birds' names came out true, I supposed mine did.
Welcome to Ostracon, a podcast that translates fragments into the whole from which they came. In Chapter 42 of Great Expectations by Charles Dickens, the convict, Magwitch, tells Pip his story. This is in the part of the novel where Pip has come to find out that his benefactor is not all the wonderful things that he had imagined, but is, in fact, the convict, the one whom he helped so many years ago as a boy. And the part of the story that I'm especially interested in is the part where Magwitch tells how he knows his name. But I'll read before and after it because it's all an interesting story. I first became aware of myself down in Essex, a thieving turnips for my living. Someone had run away from me, a man, a tinker, and he'd took the fire with him and left me very cold. I knowed my name to be Magwitch, christened Abel. How did I know it? Much as I knowed the birds' names in the hedges to be chaffinch, sparrow, thrush. I might have thought it was all lies together, only, as the birds' names came out true, I supposed mine did. So far as I could find, there wasn't a soul that see young Abel Magwitch with as little on him as in him, but what caught fright at him, and either drove him off or took him up. I was took up, to that extent that I regularly growed up, took up. This was the way it was, that when I was a ragged little creature, as much to be pitied as ever I see, not that I looked in the glass, for there weren't many insides of furnished homes known to me, I got the name of being hardened. This is a terrible hardened one, they says, to prison visitors picking out me. May be said to live in jails, this boy. Then they looked at me, and I looked at them, and they measured my head, some of 'em. They had better had measured my stomach, and others of 'em give me tracts which I couldn't read, and made me speeches what I couldn't understand. They always went on again me about the devil, but what the devil was I to do? I must put something into my stomach, mustn't I? Magwitch is one of Dickens' many characters that are so richly developed. They really inspire our empathy. I feel like there's a whole social commentary in these couple of paragraphs about how he grows up. But our focus today is narrower on this wonderful description of how Magwitch knows his name. He doesn't know where he's born. He says he becomes aware of himself. He's in a place, Essex, and he's stealing in order to live. And isn't this so much the way it is, thinking back to your very earliest memories, where you come from? You suddenly are just aware that you are in whatever situation you find yourself in, and you have to gain an understanding of what this situation is and what you're doing here. Magwitch knows little about himself. He's had no one to teach him. He hardly knows what he looks like, except the fact that he should be pitied, because he doesn't often have an opportunity even to look in a mirror. And he knew that he was with someone, a father, but that the father had left him. Maybe the man wasn't even his father. He was just somebody that was with him. And he is a man that makes things, a tinker, but he'd left and he took the fire with him and left me very cold. The example of Magwitch is an extreme one, but he describes something that we may each encounter in our own way, that early on we find ourselves alive. But it also seems that there is some security, some justice, some fire that is appropriate to attend and protect this life that we have suddenly become aware of and seems so precious, even though it's thrust amid the injustices of the world. And early on, we come amid a discovery that we can be hurt, that we can be pained, that we can be mistreated, that we can be hungry. We find this even if we grow up surrounded by love, even if we grow up in an environment exactly opposite that of Magwitch. It is inescapable that this life that we discover and that seems should be attended by justice, nonetheless is in a world where there is injustice. And I mean not just inequality of social systems, for example, but that such a thing as magnificent as life could be made a contingent thing, subject to hunger, subject to hurt, subject to rejection. Like some fire has been taken away, and not by any one, but by the situation in which we find ourselves. Now he goes on, I knowed my name to be Magwitch, christened Abel. Now keep in mind, Abel is the son of Adam and Eve who was killed by Cain. How did I know it? Much as I'd knowed the birds' names in the hedge. I might have thought it was all lies together, only as the birds' names came out true, I supposed mine did. So, in knowing so little about himself, he does not come to believe that nothing is knowable. He recognizes that he might have taken that approach. He might have thought that everything was lies. But he finds that some of the things he knows are verifiably true, and therefore he can presume that the other thing he knows, his name, something that touches upon his identity itself, can also be verifiable, and that it comes from some existing source within himself, even though it may come out from a place before memory, from a place before the narrative of our consciousness. Nonetheless, it comes out of a place that other true things have come out of, and this leads him to trust that he knows his name. And what are the other verifiable truths that he knows? The names of birds. That is, things that ascend. So in this situation where we find ourselves, we find some verifiable ascendant things, and then they tell us about what is verifiable about our own name, our own identity. What are some of these verifiable things? They're related in some sense to the lack of them that we noticed earlier, the fire taken away. Magwitch says, there was someone who had run away from me, a man, a tinker. But the recognition that he ran away is a recognition that he should have stayed. It's a recognition that he was deserving of care, of love, of family. He knows it's not right that he has been left, that he was deserving of something more. He knows that people could help him, but they don't. In essence, he knows that there is injustice, but that is a recognition that there is also justice. This is one of the ascendant birds, that there is something to the identity of the human person that is entitled to justice, to dignity, that justice is real, that virtue is possible, that love is transformative. He knows these things are real because he knows he does not have them, and he should. They flee from him, like the birds perhaps in the bushes. But as he knows those things are true, Then he knows things about himself that must be true. His sufferings don't leave him in despair of truth, but rather they are evidence that truth is real. And if truth, then a source of truth, and a source that says something about us personally. I might have thought it was all lies together, only, as the birds' names came out true, I supposed mine did. And isn't it interesting that in the rest of the novel, in his own flawed way, Magwitch goes out to make a great fortune for the singular purpose of giving it to Pip, who maybe is the only person that ever helped him. And Pip, of course, exhibits all his own flaws when he comes into his money. And it also must be stripped from him in order for him to rediscover the possibility of real love. Pip grows up with exactly what Magwitch did not have, someone to care for him, his loving brother-in-law, Joe. But nonetheless, he makes mistakes. He doesn't steal in the same way as Magwitch, but he steals. When Pip is full of pride, his mind is also full of lies. And it's after he returns to a humble life that he realizes there is a bird that he might hope to catch. Both of these characters in their different lives, and most likely every one of us in our dramatically different and diverse lives, all nonetheless encounter these good and true things that we should strive for. The transcendent, the virtuous. Sometimes we encounter them most because of their lack, but that should not dissuade us of their truth. As we know them, we know something of ourselves, that we must come from this great truth, if it is real and we are destined for it. I might have thought it was all lies together, only, as the birds' names come out true, I supposed mine did.